back to set us up. My name is Ken, and in this series I'm showing you how to build your own network attached storage device, including a media center and personal cloud storage. So in this video we're going to set up the personal cloud storage. This software is called Owncloud, and you can get to it from the link below. There's two versions. There's the community or free version, which is what we're using, and an enterprise version for corporations. But in this case, the free version will do just what we want. So what is a personal cloud? Well, basically this allows us to have files on our NAS device that are automatically synced with our PC or our phones, multiple PCs, kind of like Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive, except that you have total ownership of your files. They stay on your server. They're not sitting out on some nebulous cloud server somewhere. And personally for me, I like to be in control of my data, especially if the data is sensitive. Say, for example, bank accounts, that type of thing, or a database of passwords, for example. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start. So let's begin. So here we are back in our Windows operating system. We're going to use PuTTY to secure shell over to the NAS. We'll go ahead and log in. Okay, so what we need to do now is install some prerequisites for Owncloud. So the first thing we need to do is get yum updated. Gotta put in our password for sudo. So it did download an update, and we should be ready to go. So the first thing we want to do is turn on the EPEL and REMI repositories. This will allow us to install PHP. That's the main thing. So let's do that with the following commands, and all of these commands I'm going to have in the notes below this video, so you can copy paste them. Here's the first, and the second, okay. Now we're going to use the yum config manager and enable php 7.2. So that reminds me, I have to install the yum-utils. Okay, so now let's try to run the command before. Done. And so now we can download PHP, and this has got quite a few packages. So again, this will be listed in the notes below, so you don't have to type it all in. Okay, now we do need to make a couple of changes to the PHP configuration, and we can do that with a couple of command lines using the sed command, which will do a replace in the php-ini file. This first one increases the memory size, and the second one will increase the maximum size of what we can upload. Alright, that is done, and the last thing we need to do will be to restart Apache. So now then we need to install the database server that Owncloud is going to use to keep track of files. It comes with a database engine called SQLite, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, that is not really meant for a system that's going to be heavily used, or not even heavily used, just even a medium-sized system. So we're going to go ahead and install SQL server called mariadb, also known as MySQL. It's a pretty simple install. Anyway, we'll go to yum-y install mariadb-server. Okay, we're done. So now we're going to make sure to start the SQL Server and make sure that it runs on boot. We'll use our familiar system control commands. First we'll start it up. Okay, and now we will enable it. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is to secure it. And there's a script that comes with the installation called MySQL secure installation, and this script will allow us to set the root password and remove some test databases and other information. By default, after the install, there is no password for the root user of SQL Server, so we'll hit enter here. And yes, we do want to set a root password. Use a good password here. I would recommend not using the same password as your root user on the NAS. Okay, now it's asking if we want to remove anonymous users. Yes. Do we want to disallow remote root login? Yes. And do we want to remove the test database? Yes. Reloading the privileges, make sure that all the changes we did will take effect immediately. Yes, and we're done. So SQL Server is now installed. So now we can download Owncloud. So let's put this somewhere. Let's go to and now we're going to issue a wget command, which will do the download from the download.owncloud.org community / Now we need to get the current version, so let's hop over to a browser. And we're going to go to the Owncloud website, which is also where you'll find any documentation for both a user or an admin. Just to let you know, Owncloud also has an enterprise version for business, which provides even more features. For home use, though, the free version or community version of Owncloud will do just nicely. So let's go to download, and we're going to look for, by the way, here's documentation, install guides, upgrade manuals, everything you need to know. We're going to go get the tarball here, and that's this guy. And as you can see at the bottom under status, it looks like it's owncloud-10.1.0.zip. Anyway, I want to copy the link address. I'm going to switch back to PuTTY, and let me delete this and just paste that in. We don't have wget. I forgot that does not come with the minimal ISO, so let's grab that. Yum install wget. Okay, so let's run our wget command again. Need to run that as sudo. Okay, so we look, here is our zip file with the Owncloud. So now we need to unzip it. Well, that means we need to get an unzip command. We'll get that from yum, and that's called unzip. Okay, so we can now issue an unzip command. Remember to do sudo here. We're going to unzip to var www-html, which is the default path for Apache running on CentOS. We need a slash after that. And our unzip file is owncloud-10.1.0.zip. Okay, so now we can go look. If we go to var www.html, we see an Owncloud folder. Great. However, who is it owned by? Root. Well, we need to change that. It needs to be owned by Apache user and Apache group. So chown Apache recursive. Want to do all files and folders underneath this, and we'll type Owncloud. Done. look at it again. Good, so that is set up. Now we need to create a new database in MySQL for Owncloud to use. So we'll use the MySQL, and we're going to log in as the root user for MySQL. And we put in our password that we set before, and we're in. So now I'm going to issue the commands to create the database. Now the database name and the database user and the database password can all be custom. I'm just going to use these. You change it to whatever you want. So the database name is going to be ownclouddb, and what I'm going to do is create a user. And these commands are all particular for MySQL, and of course I will put these in the notes for this file. So basically what we're doing is we're going to grant privileges to the OwnCloudDB, which we just created, and now we're going to name our user, and we're just going to call it ownclouduser, and it is accessible on localhost only, and it's going to be identified by a password, and you can put whatever password you want. Certainly don't use mine, but I'm going to put in a plain Jane password. So let's call it P, and this is definitely not secure, by the way, ASSWZRD, or 0RD, and with an exclamation point. Please don't use that. I'm just doing that just for test purposes. And let's see, last, we have to give it, then we're going to option. Okay, we're done. Now we need to reload the permissions. And we're done, and we're out. So that is it for MySQL. Now we got to configure the Apache server. And if we go and look where Apache is installed, it's under etc httpd. If you look here, you'll see the configuration folder conf.d. This is where you put any kind of custom configurations that create virtual folders, that kind of thing for the web server. And that's where we're headed. If you look, there's already files here. So now we need to create the Owncloud conf file, which will allow us to get to the Owncloud through the web server. And with that, we'll nano a new file in our conf.d folder called owncloud.conf. And here we will set up an alias called Owncloud and point it to our Owncloud folder. And we need to set up a directory that points to our Owncloud folder. And let's close it off. And then we got to add 3 lines to it. Options, follow some links, allow override all, and require all granted. Okay, we save that file, and then we restart Apache. Okay, so now we can switch to the GUI part of the install, and we can access it through NAS/owncloud. It's already in here, but we'll type it over. And notice I'm using HTTP, not HTTPS. Well, we haven't set up any certificates. That will be for a future video. And I'm also using the word NAS because our firewall router should know that NAS is referring to 192.168.1.200, so we'll give that a shot. And it worked. So here we are at the Owncloud that is running on our NAS. We need to create an admin account, and again, you can use whatever name you want. I'll use admin and give it a good password. Let's see, I'll give it my standard so-so password, but good enough for my purposes. Now, you notice here it's saying that SQLite will be used as a database for larger installations. They want you to choose a different database backend, which is why we installed MySQL server. So we'll click the down drop here, and we have, notice the data folder and the database. So the data folder, we want to put our data on our 1 terabyte drive. So let's switch back to PuTTY and go to NAS. And we don't want to put it in Plex for sure, and we don't want to put it in storage because storage is our Windows share. So we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it Owncloud. And of course we have to use sudo. And another thing that we need to do, you notice the owner is root. Owncloud is a web app, so it runs under the user Apache. So we need to change the owner to Apache for Owncloud. I don't have to use -r because there's no files in there. And we do a list, and we see Apache owns Owncloud. So now we can change our data folder to nas/Owncloud. And we're going to change our database to MySQL, and it's asking us questions. So our database user, if you remember back when we did our configuring, was called ownclouduser. And then the password we used was PASSW0RD exclamation. And the database name was ownclouddb. And we leave localhost the way it is because we are connecting to the SQL Server running on the NAS. If you had a SQL Server running on another computer in your network, then that name would go here. And of course, if you changed the user, password, or database when you created this, you need to put those values here. We'll click Finish Setup. And it looks like we've completed with no errors. We don't want to save that. So let's log in with our user admin. And let's see, with our password we just put in. We'll get this to go away. All right, it's showing you how you can do some different things with Owncloud. You can get the desktop app, which we will do in a second, or get the app for Android or the iPhone, and that you can connect your calendar, contacts. You can access files with WebDAV, and I'll be showing you all that in a later video. Let's close this out. And admin is a user, so admin can have files. This is the standard web interface for any user. It automatically creates folders for documents and photos, and it puts the manual in there for you. But we're not going to use admin as a user. Admin is meant for setup. So let's go to settings. Oh, that's the settings just for the user. So we need to come over here to the drop down and go to settings. There we go. Now this is the settings for the user. You can put an email address, tells you how much you're using. There's a couple other options. We're not messing with that because we need to set up the server. So we're going to go down to in general. So it gives us these warnings about we got transactional file locking, and they want to use the system cron, and it's also warning us about accessing through HTTP as opposed to using HTTPS, which I said we'll do later. And it's warning us about not using a memory cache, which again, that will be in a future video for performance enhancements. For right now, this will work just fine. Now, an email server, this can be used for sending out notifications. If it's just going to be you or just you and your family, you don't have to set up the email server. But if you have it, if you have your own email server or you want to use an email server, you put that setting here. You can determine what configuration you want to use. For example, if you need to use authentication, that type thing, set that up here. I am not going to mess with this for this install, sorry. And we're coming down, looks like our updater. We're on up to date. You can change to beta if you want to be, you know, on the cutting edge, but I'm going to leave this as stable. The cron, which refers to this up here, they want to enable system cron. For right now, I'm going to leave this alone because we're just going to try to get this running. So everything looks okay. These warnings, for now, they're not going to affect us. If we go to storage, we have an option to enable external storage. We are not going to do that. Encryption, we could encrypt. I'm not going to do that right now. For sharing, you can specify how the sharing works in Owncloud for users. I'm going to leave everything as defaults for now. You can even share your entire server, which I have not done because there are no other trusted Ownclouds that I have, but in a larger setup, maybe an enterprise setup, this would be something that the federation would be something you would want to use, but for our purposes, we don't care. And that is about it. So what we really need to do now is configure a user. So let's go over here to admin and go to users. And of course our admin is a user. Here you can go in and change name, change the password. We're not going to mess with the admin anymore, but let's create a user. So I'm going to create myself, and I will even put in an email address. And is not a member of the admin group. You can create groups if you wish for a small installation. I don't really see the need for it, so but I will go ahead and just show you how to do it. Click that. I'm just going to put users. I think you have to enter here. Yes. Okay. Now you notice you can have they can be a member of multiple groups. Well, I'm just going to leave him. I'm going to leave myself as users and hit create, and there you go. It generates a random password, so I'm going to click here and put in my own password. Hit enter. Password changed, so we're good. So let's log off, log out here, and then we're going to log in as ourselves, or myself. Notice we get a similar screen, and we're done. It says we're all set up. If we go to settings, we can show hidden files. This is the WebDAV, which I will show at a future video how you can access this Owncloud using WebDAV. It's pretty handy. If we go to settings for our user, we can put our full name, change our email address, change our password, set some other settings. For now, we're okay. Security, we don't need to worry about anything in here. So, how do we use Owncloud then? Well, you already saw it. If we go back to our files, so these are our files, and we can upload files already here. So if we go to documents, here's an example document, for example. Well, let's say we want to upload something. So I'm going to hit the plus sign, and you can create folders, or we can go to upload. So let me grab let's see if I got anything I can upload. How about, I'll upload a picture. How about one of these pictures? Spider looks good. We'll open. There we go. We click on it. It downloads it. And we should get the picture of the spider. And of course, if you select it, you can delete it. You can also go hit the three dots here to get some details on it. You can tag it. That helps with searching. Put in comments. If you share this, which we're going to get to, other people see this, you can go to versions. There are no other versions. And here's the sharing. So you can type in another user on the Owncloud to share it with, or you can share it with people who aren't users using public links. And you can create a public link and send it to someone through email, and when they will get a link to your Owncloud server, and they can get to that file. That, of course, also requires a change to the firewall, and so I will be doing that later, besides the fact that you definitely need to have SSL enabled for that. So anyway, we'll close that out, and of course here's rename. You can rename the file, you can download the file or delete, and this is again, this is sharing, which we've already seen. So that's basically the web interface. Of course, you can search for files here, and you can easily navigate using the breadcrumbs up here. We can go back to home, and here's photos. They even include some sample photos. So let's put the Owncloud client on our Windows machines. Okay, so we need to go back to the owncloud.org download page, and you may have noticed that the background has changed on my Windows. I had to reinstall my Windows due to technical reasons, so I'm just going to leave it like that. So on the download page, we scroll down past server, and we get to the Owncloud desktop client. We see we have one for Mac OS, one for Windows, and one for Linux. Well, we're going to use the one for Windows for now. We're going to choose the production. So let's download. Shouldn't take very long. Okay, so we'll double click to open it up. And we'll take defaults. There are no real settings. Click yes. And we're done. So let's launch it. So it does, we'll close this. Forgot about this part. It does integrate into Explorer, so we have to do a restart. So let's click restart, and I'll come back when we're rebooted. Okay, I'm back. We've rebooted, and as you can see, we got the Owncloud icon on our desktop. So let's double click that. Okay, it's asking for the server address. So here we're going to use HTTP. Again, we're not using SSL yet, so we'll put in NAS Owncloud. This is the same address that you would use if you were going to it on the browser. Click next. It will try to connect. It did. So now it wants the username and password. So we're going to use Ken and our password for Owncloud. Okay, it's now asking, what do we want to synchronize? We want to synchronize everything. We can choose, and if we select that, this shows us the existing folders on Owncloud, which we haven't added anything, so we got the defaults. We can manually create connections, and we can use virtual files. Now, I have not tried virtual files yet. It is experimental, but hopefully this will work in the future, and it will be fantastic, which means that it won't actually download anything, but you will see the files, and it will automatically download the files once you try to access it. So that will be great for saving space on your PC. But for now, I am going to synchronize everything, and this is the local folder that it's going to store everything on. That's fine with me, but you can obviously you can change this. So we'll click connect, and we are synchronizing. Shouldn't take very long, and we're done. So I'll hit close, and let's close the browser, and we'll go to our Explorer, and notice we have a Owncloud in our quick access. Green check mark means everything is synced. Let's click on that, and there's all of our files and folders. If we go to documents, you can see here's the photo that I had uploaded before using the web interface. I can double click on it, and it wants to open it with photos. That's fine. And as you see, it's our friendly neighborhood spider. And so all I have to do now is I can drag files here, create files, and they will automatically be synced up. So let's try that. I'm going to see if I have any other files I can drag in here. This is a plain Jane Windows install, so I don't really have anything. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I have my installers. So let's drag these over. So I'm going to put these right here. So move them in. Notice you got the blue sync and we're done. So it's already synced up. So if we want to go to the browser interface, so let's go to and we'll log in. And we go to here we are. Here's our two files that we just put up. So anyway, that is how Uncloud works. If I go back and show you the Windows client interface, we go to settings, and this first tab shows our folders that we're synced to. There they are. And then it would show any subfolders. We can add another connection. If we click here, that'll take us to our web interface. Activity shows activity, everything that it does. And it automatically will not sync certain files like thumbnail databases, desktop.ini, stuff that's not necessary, but that can be changed. If we go here, we can set to launch on system startup, which is probably something we want to do. I'll go ahead and check that. Show desktop notifications like we just got. And there's some other settings. Do we want to show sync folders in the navigation? Yeah. Do we want to get for confirmation if we're syncing something larger than 500 megabytes? Well, I'm on the local area network, so I don't really need that. And network settings, we shouldn't have to mess with this at all. No limit. And we'll use the proxy config of the system, which is none. So close that, and that is the Owncloud client, and that is Owncloud, your personal cloud. So what do we need to do with this now is get SSL turned on and open up the firewall so we can access our own cloud from outside the network, and I will do that in the next video. So for now, if you like what you saw, please click like and then subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video. And if you have any questions or comments, you can post them below, and you can check out our Twitter account @SetUsUpChannel. Thanks for taking the time for watching, and I will see you later.